So this new moon that we have coming in on this Sunday, the 14th, is a rather interesting one. So of course it is Gemini season. We are towards the end of Gemini season, and this new moon is happening at 24 degrees, 3 minutes of Gemini. But what's really interesting is that this new moon is not making any major aspects to major planetary bodies. Another interesting thing is that we are preparing for Mercury retrograde. So the ruler of this new moon, of course, is Mercury, and Mercury just entered its shadow just 2 days prior to this new moon in Gemini. So it will travel, and it is traveling the same path that it will travel during its retrograde. So Mercury will be retrograde from June 29th to July 23rd, from 26 degrees of Cancer back to 16 degrees of Cancer. And during this new moon, Mercury is currently at 18 degrees of Cancer. So what does this all mean? So here is the new moon chart. The new moon is over here circled in red with the moon and the sun conjunct. And it is happening at 24 degrees and 3 minutes of Gemini. So Gemini season and Gemini energy is generally an energy that is about our communication, learning. It is about perspectives, our social capabilities, of course, being flexible and adaptable because it is mutable air. Now, with this new moon not making any major aspects, of course, it is technically going to be making a loose opposition with Black Moon Lilith up there in Sag at 19 degrees, but there is no major aspects to planetary bodies. I know there's a lot to look at here because I have some asteroids on the chart. But that being said, when there's a new moon that's not being aspected, it's going to kind of turn the energy inwards. And that is amplified even more so because its ruler, Mercury, and Mercury is, of course, going to be up there at 18 degrees of Cancer, and it is now in shadow. So despite being in Gemini, Gemini is a very mentally stimulating and active social energy. This is really turning the energy inwards. So we could have a lot of mental activity, but it's going to be more so individualized and more so internal. The ruler, Mercury, of course, is how the new moon is going to express itself. So you always want to look at the ruler of whatever lunation we're talking about. And Mercury is in square to Saturn. Saturn is down there in Aries in this chart. Don't pay attention to the houses, but it's down there in Aries at 13 degrees. So it's separating, but it's still in square. So that brings even more so of a restrictive force on mercurial energy. Mercury square Saturn can certainly, especially in the sign of Cancer, can struggle with communication. I also get this energy that I'm intuitively getting of, with the square to Saturn, there being almost like it's impulsive. So be careful that you're not speaking from a place of being highly emotional. Your communication could become skewed because of some sort of impulsive emotional action, Saturn in Aries and Mercury in Cancer. And that's not to say as well, Mercury is also sextile to Mars. Mars is in Taurus at 20 degrees. This is more of an exact aspect. It's 2 degrees off because Mars is at 20 degrees of Taurus and Mercury is at 18 of Cancer. But this really adds a layer of Martian type energy, or kind of being impulsive or action oriented. But then again, Mars is also in Taurus, and Mars doesn't do well in the sign of Taurus, so it kind of slows things down. But all this to go back to Mercury in Cancer. Mercury in Cancer really brings things inwards, and it becomes a lot more intuitive, a lot more nostalgic, a lot more protective. It's rooted in memory and emotional truth. Pay attention to things from the past popping back up, memories or even people or relationships from the past, and or emotions that are tied to your past, because these could all be clues about what you're going to be moving through during Mercury retrograde. Now look to see where you have Cancer in your chart, and that will give you an idea specifically from 16 to 26 degrees of Cancer, and that will give you an idea of what this Mercury retrograde is going to be about for you. But I will make a separate video on this coming up Mercury retrograde. Mercury in Gemini energy wants to collect data and information, while Cancer energy wants to preserve meaning. So there's this energy of finding meaning, especially related to our emotions and or our past, by gathering some form of information or data in reference to those things. And quite possibly we're able to find new perspectives on why we went through something that could have been, emotionally challenging, so to speak, or that triggers emotions to this day in you, and that could be something to look at. Definitely become curious about your own emotional view of things and how your emotions are triggered and what triggers your emotions. Lots of themes around family could be brought up around this time, your roots or your inner world, your shadow. Shadow is a huge theme for Cancer energy or the fourth house energy. But don't be afraid to revisit old stories or even things from your childhood or things that built you into the person you are or the character that you have. Asking yourself questions, or maybe you could even journal about these things along the lines of what matters to you emotionally and or what makes you feel safe. Those could be themes that could be beneficial for you to dissect. Exploring your ancestry or your familial lines, as well as not being afraid to speak with a little bit of vulnerability and having empathy and compassion for others at the same time. So that is all I have for you. Happy new moon in Gemini, guys. You know I love me some Gemini energy, so utilize it. It is a new moon after all, so this is planting seeds and intentions. These horoscopes are just to help you move through the energy and what you can expect from the energy, and so you can kind of grasp it in a better way moving forward. Always look to see where you have this new moon happening in your chart, where you have 24 degrees of Gemini. Of course, also relevant is Mercury's placement in Cancer. But personal readings for astrology and tarot can be found up at the link in my bio. Much love, y'all, and I'll talk to you soon.